Hi guys, today's lesson is over absolute value, and I just want to go over a few points with you. You don't need to write these down because they're already written down for you. First off, absolute value is the distance a number is away from zero on a number line. Think about that. Absolute value is the distance a number is away from zero on a number line. Next point we want to make, absolute value is never negative. Notice the word never there is all capitalized as kind of reminders. The symbol for absolute value looks like so, okay? Some say, oh, that looks like 11, but we just have two vertical lines here, and you're going to see numbers inside these vertical lines. You will also see maybe some problems where you're going to have to use order of operations inside the absolute value symbol there, okay? Next point, when solving a problem that includes absolute value, the absolute value symbol should be treated like a set of parentheses. So we're going to go over some problems here that deal with these 4 points, in particular this last point here that we've made. All right, let's just look at number 1 here. Number 1, if I were to ask you here, again, I'm going to represent these absolute value signs with the color orange here, all right, just to kind of distinguish where the absolute value sign is, all right. If I were to ask you how far away from 0 is -9, if I were just to ask you that question, you would tell me 9. What you've now just told me is the absolute value of -9. We say the absolute value of -9 is 9 because it is 9 units away from 0 on the number line. All right, so 9 is my answer. Notice it is positive as well. Would you go ahead and press pause right now and go ahead and do number 2 and 3? Go ahead and press pause right now. All right, moving on here. Number 2, again, I'm just going to kind of highlight these with orange here. My absolute value symbols here. If I were just to ask you what's the absolute value of 12, you just tell me that it's 12. It's 12 units away from 0. All right? Or the distance away from 0. 12 then would be my answer. Absolute value of 0, well, that's just 0. So 0 is my answer. All right? All right, so hopefully you picked up on those first 3 there. Now I'm going to ask you to get into some more challenging questions here. Would you pause this and see if you can do number 4 on your own here? Go ahead and pause this and do number 4. All right, moving on here. Number 4. Now I see I have to minus some numbers here. Okay, I have to minus some integers. So I have right now, if I were to ask you, and you have to kind of treat these like parentheses here. If I were to ask you, what's -4 minus 3, you would tell me that that is -7. Okay, but I cannot forget the absolute value symbol here. All right, that's not 1-71. Sometimes people read it that way and they get a little bit confused here. Again, we're saying what is, after we solved what -4 minus 3 is, which is -7, we now have to find the absolute value of -7, which is 7. Okay, so 7 there would be my answer. Would you go ahead and do numbers 5 and 6 here? Do numbers 5 and 6. All right, moving on here. I have number 5. Again, I'm going to highlight my absolute value signs, and I have 9 minus -6. If I were to ask you again, what's 9 minus -6? Again, like you've had before in the past here, this is like saying, what's the opposite of -6? Well, the opposite of -6 is +6. All right? So then this is really like reading this as 9 plus 6, because the opposite of -6 is +6. All right, and again, I still have to have my absolute value symbols here. Now 9 plus 6, you would tell me, is 15. I'm still going to use my absolute value symbols here. And the absolute value of 15 is just 15. All right. All right, we're going to move on down to number 7 here. Would you go ahead and pause this and try number 7 out on your own? Try number 7 on your own here. All right, moving on. We see now that outside the parentheses here, outside the absolute value symbol, we have a 2. And again, if you remember back to the last bulleted point there, said we have to treat them kind of like they're parentheses here when we solve this. If I were to ask you again, what's negative 3 plus 7? You would tell me that that's 4. Okay, and now I'm going to put my absolute value symbol here alongside the 4, and then my 2 on the outside. I'm going to read this now as this. 2 times 4. If there is not a symbol, if it does not tell you what to do here before the absolute value symbol, you're going to multiply. Okay? So, if I were to ask you what's the absolute value of 4, you would tell me that's 4. And then 2 times 4 would be 8. 2 times 4 would be 8. All right? All right, what I'd like you to do right now is go ahead and solve the rest of these here. And you have number 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Would you go ahead and do those on your own? And then please let us know if you have any questions here. All right, thank you.